Hey, what's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying the Be the Difference podcast. If you are, I got a huge favor to ask. Go on to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review for us. It helps us immensely with algorithms and growth because we grow completely by word of mouth, organically. That's why there are no ads. Also, feel free to share this content with somebody you think might get value out of it. Last, if you don't know, I also do coaching to help people become the best version of themselves, starting with physical fitness, going all the way through mindset, sales, and leadership. If you're interested in learning more, there's going to be a link in the description of the podcast. You can schedule a time. It's a free assessment. All I'm going to do is have a conversation with you and see if I can even help you. I look forward to speaking to all of you. Continue to enjoy the podcast, and remember to always be the difference. What's up, everybody? It's Greg with Delta, and this is the Be the Difference podcast. This podcast is all about making you a better person in your life and in your business with coaching on sales, leadership, mindset, marketing, everything under the sun when it comes to being an entrepreneur. We bring on guest speakers. Today, I've got the honor and pleasure of welcoming Mr. Stefan Joens. Stefan, how are you?
I'm stellar, man. How are you today?
I'm doing well, bro. Stefan and I just had a really a bro out session for about 25 minutes before we started the record.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Telling stories. We'll probably end up telling stories in this too. But for those of you that don't know Stefan is the president and CEO of Elnik Systems, a global industrial furnace manufacturer. He's a vice president of DSH Technologies, Process Engineering, and Metallurgical Service Organization, and owner and chief of Woodworker at S.J. Wood Company, a high-end wood art manufacturer. Stefan is also an original RTA member. Thank you, Steph. That's fucking awesome. Stefan started his working life with his family business, Elnik, at the age of 14 and worked his way through all areas of the business, from shop labor to stockroom coordinator to engineering team member. He attended University of Delaware and directed his focus to a business degree with finance and econ majors. After graduating, he began his new career working as a financial planner for Ameriprise Financial. After much learning, both financially and personally, but not really satisfying the technical side of his brain, he rejoined his family business, working through all areas of customer service, field service, operations, general management, and now leads the organization with a passion for education and support to the metal part making industries for the company's employees. He has been involved in multiple areas of his industry as chairman of trade show conferences, served as an active board member on various industry-specific associations. He also spent 6 months improving his technical processing knowledge, working at the Fraunhofer Institute in Bremen, Germany, alongside many research and development colleagues. His passion fall under motivation, solving problems, learning, adventure, manufacturing and design, golf, and snowboarding. Throughout his life, he has worked together with many organizations and has seen a lot of manufacturing installations and operations. He uses this experience and network to help individuals and companies grow in their respective industries. That is a fucking sweet bio, Stefan.
Thank you, dude.
I'm excited.
Little mouthful. Done a lot.
It is a mouthful, but I can handle it. I'm good. So, What is up, man? We should just continue the conversation where we kind of ended off.
Yeah, for sure. I'm good, man. It's been I've had an interesting year. So we're as a manufacturing company, I'm out of New Jersey right now. Company's 54 years old. My dad started it many years ago, and I initially was here, and then I was like, you work too many hours, you're crazy, and I didn't really understand that entrepreneurial mindset and what it requires to actually run a business. So then I went into business as a planner and started to realize all the things you got to do to build a business, get clients, provide service, provide help. But, as my bio said, I'm much more technical in the way my brain's wired. So I was losing interest in the financial side of the world. And I decided to come back to the family business, which many of my friends always asked. It's like, hey, what the hell are you not doing working for a family business, right?
Yeah.
So I worked my way through here, and I've been running the business here for the last 4.5, 5 years. And we doubled in business in the last 3 years through COVID, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
And we are in a growth phase right now. So we are actually going to be taking our business from New Jersey, and we are moving it to North Carolina. And that's sometime over the summertime we're planning to do that. Waiting on some contractors to finish some of the work.
Yep.
Going from a 20,000 to a 50,000 square foot building. Got a little bit more than half our team coming with us, which is awesome. And I'm just working through all that. It's fun. It's exciting. It's stressful. It's, all the emotions.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. So as an original Arte member, have you been able to be at one of the smaller, more intimate events and meet Andy in person?
So I've been to a couple summits, but so I was in the accelerator group when it first started out. I wasn't in the syndicate group. So they had actually two different levels of groups, where the syndicate group was basically you paid to go do 3 events throughout the year. They were very high level, very small niche groups. It's kind of like if you've ever been to or will be at a summit, picture multiple of those a year with a much smaller group of people.
Yeah.
But the thing about Arte, which is so cool, in the beginning, Andy and Ed had this theory of, let's get this group together. Let's help change the world. Let's start it from the ground up. I think they had way more applicants than they ever thought they were going to have. So they're like, we can't just let this all go and only take a small portion. So they created the accelerator group as a way to have a different group of people come in, and they have monthly calls like we're doing now.
Yeah.
And then we do those meetings throughout the year. And then they basically combine both groups, and they're allowing people to come to the summits. And at the live events, they're doing like mini events that are like a summit kind of thing, where it's like dinner with those 2 guys, spend individual time with them. But yeah, those 2 guys are salt of the earth, man. They are truly, truly some of the most amazing individuals. If you get a chance to speak directly with them, they're not like, you don't get starstruck when you're around them. They're just like regular humans. It's amazing. It's not like seeing somebody else that you look up to in this world. Like, I look up to those 2 individuals tremendously, but in both times I've talked to them one-on-ones, it's like talking to a friend of mine. It's like talking to you. It's amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I have not had the honor or pleasure to be able to speak to him in person, but it'll happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to be his podcast one day.
Get into it, man. Just like when you see him around, like a lot of people, they flock right to it and they try to find the event. You might have to wait in line to have a conversation, but when you get that chance, just talk, ask a question, see what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, they're used to that kind of stuff. So they're used to having people around them, but they give you the perfect presence and attention directly when you're having that conversation with them, which is awesome to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard a lot about the way that Ed gives presence to people when he's in person with them. He's like completely just focused on them.
It's something else, bro.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool. That's got to be a skill that he worked really hard to like build over time. I wonder how he did.
He, I don't know whether how long have you been in Arte now?
Over a year.
Over a year.
16 months.
Okay. So they've definitely touched on this in one of our calls, but the idea and the concept around the 6 human needs.
Yes.
That's something that I heard about in the early days, and I've been working on to improve over the years. It takes time to learn this stuff, but if you also understand 6 human needs, it also gives you the ability to, when you're around somebody, you have the ability to have a conversation with them about how they are. So, I mean, he can within seconds pick up on somebody just from having a short conversation. So he knows how to have that conversation and be there with you the way you need to hear it. And that's another level of skill that he brings to the table when it comes to presence. He's an icon, man. He's a role model.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I love being in the group. I went to the call last night, and I was there for about half it, and then I got a phone call and I had to take it. But apparently Andy gave some big message. I don't know.
I know. I didn't see it either. I was actually out to dinner with a couple other Arte friends of ours. Tom, who Tom, I don't know if you know Tom Carvella, but I was with Chris, CW.
Oh, dude, Chris is the shit, bro.
Yeah.
Chris is such a cool dude.
Yeah. He's a special soul, bro.
Yeah.
Truly.
I had a really good time on his podcast and him on mine. Yeah, he's such a cool dude. I like that guy.
Talk about another dude who gives you his time and his presence, especially if there's a bond there.
Yeah.
Amazing, bro. I spent 3 days with him. And if you've ever had a chance to meet, or if you ever get a chance to meet Paola, who's his right hand, does a lot of work together with him. Yeah. I had such a good time with the 2 of them. I mean, it was 3 days of leadership talking and laughing and everything you could have asked for in a 3-day trip together with people you've never actually had a trip with, but you've seen a couple times at Arte events. Dude, it was awesome. It was really awesome.
That's so cool. Yeah, he's such a good dude. And him and I just, like, the way that we talked on the podcast when he came on, it was just back and forth leadership and like volleying back and forth and telling stories. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
He's a good dude. So you basically did almost like a loop, in terms of, hey, I'm not going to go to family business. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do finance. I'm going to do technical. I'm going to come back to family business. I'm back to do it. So you almost did like a full circle around until you got back to where you were supposed to be, which was leading the family business.
Yeah.
What was that like? What was that experience like? Do you feel like you had to, like you were almost fighting, your instincts of what you wanted and forced into it, or is it something that just kind of came naturally over time that you built into?
Yeah, if I look back, so I mean, I'm 41 now, so I got out of school at 18. Sorry, I got out of college when I was 22. That's almost 20 years right there. So I think if I really look at it all, it was completely natural. It was natural in the tune of like, I looked at my dad when I was 18. I was like, you work too many hours. I'm going to do it my own way. Finance is cool. Finance is exciting. And I went there and I had a really good time there. And what I loved about that business and role was the people side. Yeah. And planning. Like I've always been a natural planner. I'm the guy, the friend group that I'm planning the trip. I'm picking the house out. I'm picking the location. I'm doing everything and setting everybody up for a win from a planning perspective. So that came kind of natural to me. But what I was really enjoying was the people. And I was understanding what made people, tick, what made them get up in the morning and go do the job that they do, whether they're, the superintendent and manager of a Pep Boys location, or, they're a, multi-million-dollar earner at a mortgage-backed security business. And I had customers kind of all around that whole area. So I was learning these people skills and how to manage people of different levels at such a high level rapidly about a very sensitive subject, their money. When you talk to people about their money, their estate plan and their life insurance, like you got to be able to have a certain level of control of how that message is being delivered to a point where people are going to understand it. So if there's anything I pulled away from the finance industry, it's how to lead people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like influence people, especially in the financial industry, you learn a lot about influence.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we didn't do a lot of brokerage work. I didn't do a lot of stock jockey kind of stuff. It was very planning based. We used a lot of different portals to get stuff done. But the thing that, lately I've actually been kind of going back to it, but it's a tool I learned back in like 05, 06. And it's called situational leadership. And it's from Hershey Blanchard style. And it's this concept around how do you as a leader structure yourself based on the commitment and competence of the person on your team, where they are from, let's call it a development style. Yeah. So like when somebody starts at a job, they're super excited, right? Like they're in that honeymoon phase. They know they're super juiced to be part of your team, but they have no freaking clue what to do. Right. So like that kind of person, you got to hold their hand. You got to show them step by step what to do to get a task done so that they get little wins under their belt. The problem is that they don't go from like a super excited person with no knowledge of what they're doing into a super excited person that has all the knowledge. There's actually 2 steps in between that. And that's the thing that you got to really adjust your leadership style to.
This is called the unconscious incompetence to the conscious incompetence to the conscious competence to the unconscious competence. So the 4 steps.
Yeah. It's
for the listeners.
Something I've been using a lot of, and it's a really, really good tool if you take yourself and understand that it's your job as a leader to know how to be adaptive to the person that you're trying to coach and lead.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of hardship. A lot of people think there's only one way to lead people, but there's not.
So for the listeners, so everyone, when they start a new job, they don't know. So basically it's like, I don't know what I don't know, but they're excited because it's new. So that's the unconscious incompetence. They don't know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. And then as they start to get into the job and the position, very quickly, they start to realize, man, there's a lot to this. And that overwhelm starts to kick in. And so
their commitment level goes down.
Yeah, their commitment starts to go down because they're like, man, I don't know if I can learn all this, right?
Right.
And so for me, what I found in the past is that when I'm in a new position or a new job or something like that, this is when I start to dream about the position, because I'm like, it's like I'm dreaming about it all the time, and I'm like having stressed out dreams, and I'm like, and in my dreams, it's like my subconscious is trying to like basically all the information I'm getting during the day, it's almost trying to like lock it in and make sense of it in my dreams. And then I'll wake up like all the time, like I'm working in my sleep, I'm working all the time, and it stresses me out. And that's the conscious incompetence. So that there's a lot that you don't know.
Yeah. And as a leader to that, let me touch on that. So as a leader to that, you not only still have to actually make the decisions for that person in that mindset, but you need to coach them as to why we're doing this. It's not just do this. It's we're doing this because this is the intended outcome. This is the mission we're going on. So you're tying a lot of, especially if your business is built this way with good mission, core values, you're bringing those things into that stage of a person to help them go from this low level competence, low level commitment into an area where they started to get some wins and they start to feel good about themselves.
And the key part here is that you're saying is that you have to coach them. This is the coaching heavy area.
Yeah, huge.
This is where you as a leader really got to coach. And this is where you do everything and they watch.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing everything. And as that there's like almost like sub levels to this phase
mm-hmm.
or sub phases phase. And as they start to grasp things, you're giving them little tiny things to help with, but you're still
mm-hmm.
doing everything so that they're starting to pitch in. Right. And then when they start to realize they've done enough, then they start to slowly take over. They start to do it. You're overwatching and coaching at the same time, but your coaching is a little less. Your coaching here is like a I'd say 60% ratio versus like a 90% ratio on the previous phase.
Yeah.
But this is the conscious competence. This is like, hey, I know what to do and I know how to get it done. I still need you to watch me. I still need a little bit of help here and there. I might have some questions, but that's the conscious competence. Now, the danger area is the transition between the unconscious or the conscious incompetence and the conscious competence. Yes. That transition is where people friggin' fall into the pit of despair.
Yep. Or leave.
Or leave. Yep.
Yeah. All day long.
And a lot of times they'll just like throw their body into the pit. It's like, I can't do it. and then you're like, dude, there's a ladder right here. Climb on out. I'm showing you. And they're like, no, I can't climb the ladder. My legs are broken. So, and that's where the longer they stay in there, the longer it's harder for them to get out. It's like they get deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's like this rut that just gets super hard to get out of. And
so like the good leader in this spot goes away from coaching from instruction and coaching to explain the role and the responsibilities into the support role of helping that person get wins. The more you help people get wins, I mean, you can talk about this from an employee perspective or just life. Like I've helped a lot of my friends use the principles and concepts of the power list to get out of ruts in their life by getting little wins. By getting little wins, you feel confident because you're getting wins under your belt. I mean, shit, anybody who ever wins a championship, whether it's as an individual or part of a team, you feel fucking good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the more you build and stack that upon itself, you start to build up this level of competence. And the problem, once you get out of that, conscious, what'd you call it again? Conscious
incompetence
to conscious competence, right? So with conscious competence, there's one step further than that.
Yeah.
And in the situational leadership loop, it's basically you're taking this person who's conscious. They know what they're doing. They know how to do it, but their commitment is variable because they're a little nervous about screwing something up.
Yes.
Right. So if you can get them out of that by continuing to build up their wins, they get into as a leader, you get into a delegatory role where they're super committed. They're super confident in what they're doing. And your whole mission is being like, listen, I need you to get these tasks done by Friday. This should be the expected outcome. Just let me know when you got them completed. Like that's where you want to build your team to, because now this takes you as a leader away from trying to be this person who's doing everything from everybody to get people to do things as part of what their job responsibilities are. And now you just have this thing called found time. And I love found time.
Yeah. To explain found time.
So to me, the way I look at found time is when you understand how to lead people or when you understand how to direct a discussion with somebody so that your amount of committed time to getting them over the hump of getting sitting in front of you to getting out of your office and going into their task. If it's usually 30 minutes with one person, but you figured out a way to do it in 10 minutes, you just found 20 minutes. Yeah. And for me, the true mark of an achiever or a person who's like a real driver, one who's trying to really succeed, is what they do with found time. Because too many people, it's like found time. They're like, cool, feet up. I'm going to go take a minute break. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But they don't think about, oh my God, I have this extra time now that I can go do something. I can go my own win. I can get this thing moving a little bit further down the line. I can move this project a little further. So found time is something that I think is a true mark. If people understand found time and when to recognize that they just got some, it's like having a 30-minute meeting on your calendar and it's done in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's nice.
Calendar said you had 30, right? You got 20 minutes free. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's nice.
And what you do with that makes a big difference in how you become what you become and the level of success you're able to achieve.
And here's the thing. Just to bring it back, if you have a power list, this is where you already know, you already have a list of things to do every single day where you say, oh, I got 20 minutes, and you look down, okay, I can knock this out in 20 minutes, and it's done.
Yep.
Right. It's so much easier when you have that list. And as a power list, you need to be writing it out the day before. Like the evening before, you need to sit down based on like, hey, this is how today went. This is what I want to do tomorrow. It makes your day so much better. You start off way more productive knowing already just by writing it out. It's like your brain wakes up being like, okay, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. And you just start off on a roll.
Yeah.
I used to dude, I used to try to start, I'll do my power list tomorrow morning. And then I'd sit there and be like, man, what do I got to do today? Like, I guess I could do this. I guess I could do this. When I started doing my power list at night, way different.
Yeah. Way different. Absolutely. I completely agree with that. I've seen that with myself too. And the problem is on those days you try to do it in the morning, like you're sitting there trying to work on it. All of a sudden, like if you try to do it when you got to work, I mean, you're already screwed, right? Because you've wasted so much time. But like, oh my God, somebody came in your office and they just took a bunch of your time away. And now you're short, your window of time gets so much smaller to complete the things you want to complete.
Absolutely. I'm telling you, do the power list. I talk about the power list all the time, my team. But you got to do the power list, and you have to do it. You have to do it the day before. And so you can start off with even 3 things, right? I usually do 5 to 6, but you can start with like 3 things.
Yeah.
So to go back to the quadrant. So on the conscious competence, right? The last level after that is called the unconscious competence. That's when this is when it becomes habitual. Like they just know. Yeah. Like you can just be like, hey, this needs to get done. And they without even being like, hey, how do I do this? You're just like, Roger, got it. And they already know all the steps to do. Yeah. They do it automatically. They don't even have to think about it. It's almost like it's become like brushing their teeth for them. They don't have to think about, well, I got to hold my wrist just this way and I got to move my wrist. Like it's not weird for them. Yeah. It's automatic, right? It's become a habitual action. Now, just like in the conscious incompetence, how you have the pit of despair, a lot of people will go from the conscious competence and they'll think, I'm unconscious competent. They'll think that they're good. They got it. And they'll do it too soon and they don't got it. And what will happen is that they think they're taking a magic brick road over to the unconscious competence, but what they're doing is they're taking a magic brick road all the way back to the beginning to unconscious incompetence, and they start skipping steps, and then their performance drops, and they're like, I don't know what's going on. And you're like, well, let's look at your process. Let's look at what you're doing. And it's just like, well, hey, you're not doing any of the basics anymore. You're skipping steps. You're skipping this. You're skipping that. And they think that they've got it. And they stop doing the fundamentals. And so they don't realize that's why it's unconscious. They don't even realize why they're failing now. And it's because they stopped doing the fundamentals. They thought they were better than what they were.
I love that you can talk about this like it's like you're in the unconscious competence. I love it.
Really I've done a lot of leadership shit in my life.
Move your head a little to the left. What's your name on your pillow there?
Oh, on the pillow? Oh, yeah, dude. I got the same one.
Bro. Nice, bro.
Yeah, I got the same one. So,
I was sitting there looking at the curve of the shoulder and everything. I'm like, wait a minute. Dude's got the same chair.
Also, mine's the Batman one.
Nice. Mine's the Titan. I got the Titan.
Yeah, I saw the Titan one when I first bought it, but I'm a huge suit. I'm such a big Batman fan.
I was gonna buy that. That was the other one in queue. I was like Titan. I'm Titan of industry. That was my thing.
and my son, my oldest son, he's a junior, Greg Jr. He drew me this years ago. It was friggin' 7 years ago. He drew this picture of Batman and Robin, and he pointed it is like daddy, and it's like the worst writing ever because he's so young. And then it's like me. He's always said he was my Robin, and it's a terrible drawing. I mean, it's beautiful, Junior, if you watch this. Yeah. And I still have it on my fridge to this day, and this warms my heart. So he's my Robin, and I'm his Batman. And so Batman and Robin's our thing.
I love it, dude. That's really that. I was literally like, I had both them in my cart, and I'm like, which one do I want?
I'm also a huge Batman fan, like the comics and I think the Dark Knight trilogy is the best trilogy ever made. That's just my opinion.
So who's the best Batman for you then?
Oh, definitely Christian Bale.
Okay.
Close second is Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
You want to get nuts? let's get nuts.
Yeah. Actually, for me, it goes the other way. I liked Keaton a little better because, like, while I freaking love Christian Bale as an actor, the voice he threw out for the Batman voice was so extreme compared to how he's ever been in a movie. I was just like, I always struggle with you know,
it didn't bother me. To me, I was like, it makes sense. He's got to mask his voice. He can't say, and like, it's barely masked in the old Batman movies. Like, he sounds the same. It's just like, it's like Bruce. Like, anyone in the world would be like, that's Bruce Wayne's voice. Like, I out of all of them, like, it was worse in the Dark Knight. I think that's when it was like real extreme, was in the Dark Knight movie. But I thought Batman Begins, I'm the crazy one. I think Batman Begins is the best one.
Oh yeah.
Because that's like the story that they paint of his dad, and the way it goes back to the past, and then it jumps forward, and then it goes like in the middle. The way that he plays with the timeline and the storytelling of the timeline, which man, what's his friggin' name? He does this in a lot of his movies.
The guy who wrote him,
the guy that made the movies, because he did Interstellar. He did he's done so many good movies. He did the same thing in Memento. If you've ever seen Memento, Christopher Nolan. So the way Christopher Nolan does his screenplay, he plays with timelines really well. And so, like, it starts off at the beginning, and then it shoots forward to like a point in the future. Then it shoots forward even further in the future, and then it kind of goes back to the middle future, and like it's like jumping back and forth. And you're like, what timeline is it? But like, it all kind of makes sense and it merges together. But the way that he paints, like the way he portrays the father and the relationship between Bruce and his father, and how like you can almost like feel the pain that Bruce has that his dad died. Like, he was so close to his dad. Right. And his dad was just such a good dude. It's a different telling of the origin story.
From the original one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the music, dude, everything about it. Every single time I watched that movie like 1,000 times, bro. And I'm just like, damn, this is a good movie. It's my favorite movie of all time, man.
Well, I got a question for you, man. So,
what's up?
You know, being that you've been in the military, and thank you very much for your service, I very much appreciate it.
Thank you for your support.
What would you say is your best lesson learned from the military?
Oh, that's a good one. So I'd say the best lesson that I learned when I was in Iraq, and I was an executive officer of a company.
Okay.
So basically I was a second in command. Okay. So as a second in command, I was the commander in the absence of the commander. But I also, I did all the resourcing. I managed all the supply. I managed all the training, like scheduling, making sure everything is good to go. I handled basically all the administrative tasks, you know, so that the commander could focus on being in command, right? And I saw myself as the shield. I was like the shield that like blocked all the bullshit from him. And so I was like, hey, you guys come to me. Because the best description I could say, you ever seen the Pulp Fiction?
Yeah.
I was the wolf, right?
Okay.
I was the guy that you called when some shit went down. And like, I'd be like, I'd soldier call me and they'd be like, sir, we just got to the range and we're supposed to have a firing session and we got no ammo. Oh, also there's a dead hooker in the trunk. And I'm like, all right, bro, I'm 45 minutes away. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Don't tell anyone else. And I'm like, showing up. I'm like, you do this, you dig a hole, you like fucking just direct the traffic and like clean the situation. And then the commander would never find out. And then if he did, I'd just be like, sir, you don't want to know what's happened, but it's taken care of. And he'd be like, Roger, got it. Tracking. Let's move on. So anyways, I'm the XO, and every echelon has an XO. So I'm a company XO, and then even though my direct upline or my direct person I answer to is my commander, I have a battalion XO who doesn't have direct command over me.
Okay.
But he is the next level XO. And so there's a level, he's a higher rank too. So it's like the military thing, right?
Yeah.
But he's a really good resource because like he just manages at the higher level. So so our XO, Sean Kramer, Major Sean Kramer, he was a fucking fantastic dude, man. And I learned a lot from him. First off, I learned from him was he never gave me the answers. So if I had an issue and I'd be like, hey, Major Kramer, I got this, that, the other going on. And he would be like, huh, okay. Well, what all have you tried? And then I would go through and tell him what I'll try, all the solutions I tried for the problem. He'd be like, huh, have you tried this? And then it would like spur an idea. And I'm like, no, I haven't. He was like, go try that and come let me know. You know, and it would be like just enough. It wouldn't be the complete solution, but it'd be just enough to get me on the right path to find the complete solution.
I love that.
And so he taught me like how to like, he was teaching me how to be resourceful on my own without me going to him as a crutch. And it was a great tool and a great resource to learn at that time. And it's something that I do now. That I've continued on in my leadership. The second thing that he did was halfway through the deployment, the S3, which manages all the operations.
Okay.
At a battalion level, like a battalion level, we don't have an S3. Like I handled everything because it's smaller
right.
Size.
Right.
But at a battalion level, bigger operations, much more going on. They split the roles of operations and supply and training and management.
Okay.
And they split in two. And so what happens is that in order to get to for an officer to be well-rounded and understand all the pieces of the staff within a battalion, so that when they become a battalion commander, they can effectively lead.
Right.
What they'll usually do is they'll swap out the X3 and the XO. So he became the S3, and then the S3 became the XO, and the S3 was fucking clown. I don't even remember his name. That's how much of a clown he was. I really didn't like that guy. I was like, as soon as he became XL, I was like, fuck you, dude. I was like, I never want to play anything. People like, Ken Birch, you need anything? I'm like, no, sir, I'm good.
I'm good. Got this.
I'm good, sir. Don't you worry. And then I'm like, hey, Major Kramer, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not the XO anymore, Greg. So anyways, whenever something would happen, whenever the original clown was the S3, there's the battalion talk, and it's just this massive room with like rows of computers and chairs with fucking big ass screens in the front. We're in a Connex in a metal box, right?
Right.
And like there's like massive screens and like all this stuff, and there's fucking people on radios and phones, and every single time that we get an attack or something would happen, dude, that S3, it was like pandemonium. He would just be like, hey, fucking Private Sosa, Private Johnson, and everyone's fucking flipping out hair on fire because he's flipping out hair on fire, right? As soon as that fucking switch happened and Major Kramer came in, he would just be standing there, something happened, he'd be like, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do. Hey, Johnson, I want you to go ahead and call up Bravo Company Commander and let him know that he's got to get vehicles ready for a platoon. Hey, specialist, whatever. And he was just very calm. And everybody was super calm and efficient. And everything was fucking like kosher. And I saw the big change. And I was like, it's because he was remaining calm under pressure that everybody else was able to remain calm under pressure, because as the leader in that situation, everyone was looking to him for how to react and what to do. And I never forgot that. And I was just like, dude, so every single time that I've been like under a lot of pressure, like I'm a gregarious dude. I'm like all the time. But when a lot of stress hits me and like we get into a stressful situation, I calm down and I slow down. Cool. And I'm like,
were you like that before you saw that?
No.
So you think being around it gave you the experience?
Being around it, like seeing it and having the epiphany, because it made me kind of think back and realize, because I would have situations when I was in a previous position, when I was a more junior officer, when I was a brand new lieutenant or a first lieutenant, I had remembered times where I'd gotten frustrated and I let my emotions take over. Like I would freaking start screaming and and doing the whole like getting in an NCO's face and literally like 5-finger death pointing them in the chest and be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, and like just go ape shit, right?
Yeah.
And like as he's doing this, I'm like, man, I was shitty. It's like that's not how I used to act, and it was just it was a moment of realization for me that
Awesome.
like, and I because I really looked up to him because he was
Yeah.
just an exceptional dude. You could just feel like he had a good energy about him,
Right.
and so I wanted to emulate more of him, and I realized like I haven't been acting that way, and so that realization I think is what made me realize to where whenever something did happen in the future, I was kind of like, what would Sean Kramer do, kind of thing, like, and I would just really just calm down, right? And it
Yeah.
helped me a lot in my Afghanistan deployment, which in Afghanistan I had, even though it was a couple years later, but like
Mm.
I managed a interrogation facility because I was
Okay.
at the time I was MI and I was running sources. I was a human intelligence officer, so managed interrogation facility. And we had a bunch of crazy shit happen, and so
I can imagine in a place like that.
yeah, it was a good time though. But I was way more calm. I was
Right.
way more like, okay, especially when things hit the fan, right? When shit hit the fan, I was like, all right, guys. All right, I'd like stop for a second. I'd think, and I would start to problem solve in my head. I'm like, okay, what's all the solutions that I can come up with? Like, okay, these are the options that we have. What do you guys think? This. We just game plan. Okay, this is the one. Best solution wins. Hey, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. I'm going to do this. Hey, is that all we got everything? Okay, break, right?
Yeah.
And made it so much better. And it also helped. Like when I was in command, so when I was dude, when I was in command, I had this. I had a soldier. One day we have what's called an Alpha 162, which is a roster of all the people in your company.
Okay.
And so the 162 is how you basically assign duties. So if somebody's
Okay.
got to go to staff duty, it's like it's done for the 162. So every week we would get our new 162, our updated 162 from
Mhm.
our higher headquarters. So I was
Mhm.
the HHC garrison commander, and garrison garrison they like run the post like a city, like they're the mayor. It's like the mayor's office.
Okay.
Right?
You're doing this. You're doing this. Go do that. Do
Like
this.
Department of Public Works, emergency
Okay.
services, housing, everything, like all the shops. It's like basically an entire post is basically a city. That's like the mayor of the city, right? And so I, as HHC garrison commander, all of the soldiers that were under the garrison and all the
Mhm.
civilians were in my company. I managed the people. And so one day we get a new 162 and there's an extra soldier on there. And we're like, who the fuck is this soldier? I was like, never heard of him.
Right.
Some E5 sergeant. We're like, who's this guy? So we call up Garrison. Garrison's like, we don't know who he is. So then we call up HHC USACO, which is the U.S. Army Intelligence Center of Excellence,
Okay.
which is the general's office. We call up HHC USACO, and they're like, oh, yeah. So, hey, there's a new soldier that was supposed to come to our books, but we feel like it should actually go to Garrison. Here's
Okay.
the details. Apparently, the last time he was at that location, he was at HHC USACO, but he had left. He had left to go to North Korea, or sorry, South Korea. He'd
Okay.
go to South Korea, and after he landed, he went to Nashville, and he spent like 2 weeks in Nashville,
Mhm.
and then he went to South Korea, and like 2 weeks in, a guy in Nashville is found dead, and the ballistics come and show that he was killed with this guy's weapon during the
No.
time frame
It.
that he was in Nashville. Yeah.
Well,
And so,
so many questions.
so federal marshals picked his ass up and brought him back to the States to get tried for murder. But it was I'm sorry, it wasn't Nashville, it was Tucson.
Okay.
But they had to bring him back, and he went to Pima County Jail for Tucson, and then he had to get assigned back to HHC USACO, and they're like, not our booger. They flicked it right on us. So I was like, what the fuck, man? So
did he ever make it?
oh yeah, he made it. Oh yeah. So he was acquitted of all charges.
Okay.
Yeah, he was acquitted. Just to break the story, he's acquitted of all charges. So we went to the prison and we went before the judge, me and my first sergeant, said, hey, can we have him released to the company? We will keep him on the installation. He can't leave the installation. That way we can have accountability of him while he's waiting for trial. We'll take ownership and responsibility for him. The judge signs off. We bring him back. We put him to work. And I treated him just like a normal dude.
Right.
I was just like, dude, you're innocent until proven guilty. You're still a soldier. You got shit to do. So get to work, bro. Like, and he was like, Roger that, sir. Like, and he was actually one of the coolest, kindest, like happiest dudes, most positive guy in the world.
Just wrong place, wrong time kind of thing.
Wrong place, wrong time. It was actually like his friend or something. He left all of his shit with his friend. His friend he'd left him everything to like watch while he went to Korea, and his friend actually did the murder. So that's what came out in court anyways. So anywho, so we had to like always, every single day, we had to have some kind of accountability with him to make sure he hadn't left the post. And we had this long weekend. It's a 4-day weekend. And so it was a Monday, Tuesday off.
Mm-hmm.
So Friday he ended up not coming to work because he had like his wisdom teeth were removed or something. And so I was like, he did it right before a 4-day so that it wouldn't impede work. So he'd be back to work on Wednesday, be fine.
Right.
So Saturday, my first sergeant calls him to check up on him, see how the surgery went. No answer. Calls him again, no answer. Goes by the barracks, not there. And he's like, where the fuck is Sergeant Thompson? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, sir, we have to find him. As if not, we have to alert the post that there's a potential felon murder that's not broken. That's gone. And I was like, all right. I was like, so who does he talk to in the company? Who's he hanging out with? Let's start talking to the people in the company. Yeah. So we started like working through all the females that in the company, because he's a single male, every single female he talked to. And we basically went by all their houses. I was like going literally by people's houses and being like looking in the windows and shit. Yeah. Like that. And we like, hey, it's Captain Birch. What's up? Hey, start tossing in there. Couldn't find him, bro. And so Saturday, all day Saturday, we looked. Sunday comes and he was like, dude, we have to tell the garrison commander.
Right.
Or fucking Colonel, and Colonel McFarland would have fucking killed me. I was like, dude, I have a feeling we're going to find him. Like, let's just calm down.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take the heat anyways, if it comes down to it.
Sure.
And so I don't want to raise alarms and make it worse for this kid than if it's not, right. We ended up finding him on Sunday. And he had broke his phone, and he spent all day Saturday at the PX getting a new phone, and he was just waiting forever because they were like trying to like get his phone. Like,
last place you would look for him, right?
Yeah, and like I could at the time I was like, actually I'll concede, like the phone kiosk here is fucking terrible. Like everything there was terrible. So getting anything, it took forever. So I was like, that makes sense. And so he got a new phone, and then when he activated it that evening, that's when he got all these texts coming in like, where the fuck are you? And so he had tried to text that night or something, and then he ended up texting the next morning. And so, yeah,
I thought this would have gone down the road. He was like looped up on some kind of like, painkiller pills, and he was off in some wonderland roaming around.
No, dude, he was friggin' just living his best life with a girl. It was one of the girls that we went by her house that she didn't answer, and I was like looking at all of her doors and windows, and she was at home, but it's because she was with him. And she verified. She's like, yeah, I was with them. And we didn't call her single person. We went by their houses. I was like, fuck, I'm going to show up, watch him, catch him in the act, right? So, yeah, dude, I got so many stories from like soldiers doing dumb shit.
I could only imagine, dude. So you actually said something in the earlier part when you went to Afghanistan and how like you're responsible for a lot of different commands, a lot of different people.
Yeah.
And you said something particularly about leadership that I found to be my successful move working my way through this business as I came back to the company. And what it was really, and this goes for all the people that are listening to this that are in roles of leadership, whether you're new, you're seasoned, probably a little bit more for the people that are newer and they're just nervous about, especially if you're like younger and you got older people around you. I took over the full operational, aspects of this shop, putting equipment together when I was 28 years old. No operational management training, no safety training or anything along those lines. But what I was really good at is people. Remember the whole thing about finance, I learned people. So my job as a leader of the business was to make sure people knew what they were doing, make sure they were acting and behaving safe, make sure they knew the priorities, make sure they knew the structure, and make sure people weren't fighting with each other and shit was getting done. But what happens in all things in life? Problems happen, right? Especially in the military. You guys put a plan together and it fucking falls apart usually however many minutes into the program, right?
Super Gumby, bro.
Right? Something's happened. So like we would have a problem with, some roll-ups that we have to put two inside each other and then put a flange on top of it and weld this whole thing together. But when you weld one side, the other two walls are almost touching each other, but I need a gap between it or whatever the problem was. What I did, and this is where I feel like you did this a lot too, because you might not have had all the answers yourself, is I pooled together the people that were responsible or the more sharp people within my team as welders, as machinists, as this, that, and the other. I didn't have to make the decision. I needed to be able to listen to everybody. And most of the time it was a majority's win decision. But if there was a 50-50 decision, and this was the secret that I always pulled in, is I always tried to have I always tried to make it 6 people where I was the 6th. Right. So if I needed to make a pull decision on it as the leader, I could, but usually it was like a 3-2 or 4-1 kind of, direction that came from the team. So what I used a lot and way I learned shit was by asking my team the right questions and just being a sponge around them and learning all these things. So now as I'm leading the entire business and I go into each and every one of these departments, not only have I done their jobs in many cases or been part of the teams that supplied and provided support for those roles, I've led them all in groups together and I've shown them how I can bring this group together to make decisions to go forward. Yeah. And that's really a good mark of a leader is you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to be smart enough to bring people around you to help make decisions as a group. And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And I've also found such a strong thing for leadership that people feel nervous about because they go in, they're like, oh my God, I got to know the answer. You don't. Yeah. You got to know how to bring people together.
I've also found, so in that time frame, I was more of because like speed and efficiency, I'm all about speed and efficiency. So I would, in a situation, say, hey guys, here's a situation. This is what I'm thinking that we should do this, this, and this. What do you guys think? And I would get their opinions. Right. And what you'll find is that a lot of times they'll be like, oh, that's fine. I agree with that actually. And they'll just go along with it.
Right.
And what I've changed over time, by the time I got in command, is I would just say, I would go in with an understanding like, hey, I got about an 80 to 90% solution of what I want to do, but I didn't tell them what I thought. And I'd say, hey, here's the problem. What do you think? Go around the horn, go. And then I would let them go in succession. And if somebody said something that was good, the next person like, actually, I was thinking this, but I like that plan too. They're more likely to actually have that conversation between each other. They would not do that with me. They would be like, oh, I like that. Let's go with that. Instead of like, I was thinking this, and that's just kind of normal, natural, especially with the hierarchy the way that the military works. Right. And so I started learning to speak last. And so I would listen to everybody. I would take notes and then say, okay, based on what you guys are saying and based on the information I had going in, because I have a different perspective, I was already thinking this. But I'm gonna take this out, and I'm adding that and that, and I think that's gonna be the best solution. What do you guys think? Right now, I'm like melding all of our ideas, the best ideas together, in order to come up with the best solution without me coming up and saying anything at first.
Love it. So, dude, think about in today's world, all the people coming into work today, right? It's not the world of the old day where it's like clock a job in, get a paycheck. I'm gonna live my life outside of work when I'm done. People come to work nowadays because they want to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. They want to be part of something. So what they want is they want to feel like they belong there, and they want to feel like they have trust in the people that are their leaders. And what I've learned over my time, and when I simplify it down to, is I build trust and belonging through inclusivity.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that you have to. And this is one of the hardest things is in those moments like you just did, and you have this ability just because you've been around a lot of fast-paced situations. you have the ability to gather all the information from the people. And maybe in some businesses where people don't want to speak in groups, the leader's responsibility is to go find those people after the meeting's done and say, hey, I saw you didn't take a time to say something. Is there something you thought you might want to add to this? And then bring that information together, formulate the best decision out of it. But here's the little extra nugget of goodness to it, is go back to the people that provided you info that you're not including their decision and explain to them why, so that the next time you need help, they still want to contribute because you've at least closed the circle for them. That's such a huge thing. A lot of people, they take the ideas, they go make a decision, but they don't circle back to all the parties involved.
That's actually a really good tip. I like that a lot.
Dude, they miss it out. And then they start to get these people that are, they're going back to this role. They're falling back in their competence and their trust in themselves because they feel like they don't have that level of trust from their leadership.
Yeah, that's
huge,
awesome.
Huge.
That's huge. This would be a good leadership chat. I like this. We should do like leadership fireside chats.
I can do this all day.
I can talk leadership all day too. And that's actually my passion, really, is to talk leadership and like personal development. Lately on the podcast, I've had a lot of like law of attraction stuff and marketing stuff, which is cool too. Don't get me wrong. I've been geeking out on some marketing stuff, but my real, like, it's just because of the years I spent in the military and like all this situation, man, I failed so much as a leader, bro. I've made so many mistakes, but the good thing about leadership is it's like, I don't care who you are. It's a lifelong journey. You talk to some of the best leaders in the world, and they wouldn't be like they wouldn't tell you that they're a master leadership. They would just say they're a lifelong learner, and they're just further.
You never get to the peak of the mountain, right?
Yeah, because there is no right or wrong answer. There's a lot of variables and shades of grays. It's like and usually it's like slightly better option versus slightly less better, right? There's no determining factor. It depends on the person you're dealing with too. It's just, there's so much complexity when it comes to like dealing with people, and that's what it is. It's people and influence, right? And so if I were to simplify leadership and simplify it into like its most base form, I would say that leadership is 3 levels. You have self-leadership, and it starts with you, because no one's gonna friggin' follow you if you ain't doing the job too. If you can't be like, hey guys, we're going to do this, that, the other. And then you go like there's people that legitimately, I don't know how, but they legitimately think like, I just can't wait to be the boss. And they're like, have the vision of you like sitting up back of the chair, legs kicked up. You just friggin' like, yep, the team's working and I'm relaxing. Like, no, bro, that's not how it's going to work. Like if you can't have a high performance team, you can't recruit or hire or maintain someone that's a 9 or a 10 and you're a 6. It will never happen. It just won't. So you have to be at that level too, which means you have to have self-leadership. And then next is, through that self-leadership, you're going to exemplify what right looks like.
Okay.
And people will notice. And then they'll come to you and say, hey, how you doing this? And you'll be like, let me show you. And then that's when you start to lead others through your example. Okay. And then as you build them and they grow, you will duplicate yourself and you will become a leader of leaders. And now you're teaching them to do the same thing. And that the ripple effects expand from there. And now you're creating other leaders that are doing the exact same thing that you're doing, that eventually replace you or take more ownership of the company you're in or the organization that you're in.
Yeah. I love that. And there's one little adder to it too, let's
do it.
I think it kind of adds to the things you were just talking about. So those people that understand self and have the ability to become the version of what they want their team to become at the end of the day. Like, I love those connecting dots you just put together, but don't forget about being a servant leader.
Yes.
That little piece is also a huge part, because you can do all these things, but if you're not serving your team, which in between the lines of what you just said, you're serving your team by making them better.
Yeah. And honestly, like if you're becoming the best version of yourself, you're doing it for your team.
Yeah.
It's happening anyways, right? Like you're doing it, you're becoming the best version to be an example, to help them, to show them way, to help raise them to a higher platform, right? Yeah. And so it's like, dude, I get up every single morning and I do my daily rituals and I go to the gym and I work out, and then I come and I start knocking out my tasks and I do all these things and I read daily, and I'm doing that so that I can get to a certain level and I can continue to rise through levels, but I can also inspire people under me to do the same thing to help them to increase their capabilities and reach higher potentials, right? It's like when you get to that level and you realize why it's not just for me, it's because I'm inspiring others to also better their life. It is out of servant leadership in a sense.
It's a lot easier to pull your team along than it is to try to push them from behind.
Yep. And then all of a sudden they're going to start like pulling with you before you know it. And you're like, oh, hey, what's going on, bro?
It's getting a little bit easier.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. What's your favorite interview question?
That I ask guests.
Well, whether it's a guest or like
a guest ask me, or if I'm a guest on someone else's podcast.
Well, we can certainly do favorite interview question on a podcast. I was going down more the road of what's your favorite interview question when you're looking for a new teammate?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good one.
And why is it your favorite question?
So, when I got interviewed for command, I got interviewed for a bunch of different commands, and I got selected for 2, but I picked one. Okay. And the one I picked, I got interviewed by a full bird colonel in 06, and he gave me the hardest command interview I've ever had in my life.
Okay.
It was like I got done and I was like sweating. And I was on the phone in my office, and like everyone was like, dude, you were on the phone for so long. They're like, they heard my answers. They're like, dude, what was that like? I was like, dude, that was the craziest interview I've ever in my life. And so one of the things is he started off, he's like, hey, for my interviews, I give you either we're gonna play this like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I'm gonna give you a phone a friend, and I'm gonna give you it was like it was phone a friend and like another one. I can't remember. It's like, hey, or is it pass? It was like a pass. Okay. And like 2 questions in, I passed because I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. And he laughed at me. He was like, this is going to be interesting. And I was like, this is not going well. And somehow he picked me. Somehow he picked me for command. Anywho, one of the questions he asked me, it was a 2-parter. Okay. And it was a personality question, which it's a very unique question. It's weird, but it was to see what kind of why it was an MMPI question. It was like reasoning and like why I would pick certain things. Mm-hmm. He was like, hey, you're in a bar, okay, and you walk in and you're single and you're looking to spend the night with a lady, okay, and at the bar you see a woman that's a 9. She's real attractive to you. And she's got 2 other guys that are talking to her. And you could tell that they're not with her, but they're trying to hit on her. Okay. And and then over at another side of the bar, at a table, there's a woman that's like a 7. She's not as attractive. She's sitting by herself, and she's reading a book. And she looks like she's purposely trying to stay away from people.
Right. But she's at a bar, which is interesting.
Which one do you talk to and why? Ooh. And then he asked the same question. He's like, now you're trying to meet somebody that you want to connect with and potentially build a relationship with and looking to marry. How does that change your answer? And if so, why? Ooh. And so I was like, huh. So I ended up picking the woman at the table for both times because I was like, the woman's in a bar. She's reading a book, which is interesting. And that intrigues me. I want to go find out more about her. Yeah. I just want to go have a conversation with her. Whereas the girl that's pretty, she's used to just getting showered with attention. She's already getting showered with attention. And to be honest, I'm not the kind of guy that's like, oh, well, I'm better. I can get her attention better. I'm not going to compete. Like, it's just, it's not in that sense. I don't want to like 5 different guys trying to get one girl's attention. That's not me. So I would rather go talk to the girl that's by herself. Yeah, because it's a way more interesting conversation. Oh, so, yeah. And then
unless you're the guy that swoops in and saves this girl from like scumbags that are hitting on her.
Yeah,
have this like interesting conversation that goes from somewhere, but you never know.
I could have done that, but I just thought I was like, oh man, I'd be like, oh hey, can I buy you a drink? Can me 3? Like, oh, hey. So that was probably when it came to interview questions that I've ever had, that was my favorite one because it just stuck out of my mind so strongly. And then he asked one other question that was really powerful. He's like, "Hey, what are you most?" He said, "What are you most proud of in your life that you've done?" And then he said, "What are you most ashamed of that you've ever done in your life?"
Good question.
And I was like, "Oh man!" And I dug deep, dude. I dug real deep. And I was honest to him too, and I told him I was like what I did and why I was ashamed, and he was like, "Okay." And
You
so,
should be.
yeah, yeah,
Dude, my favorite interview question, and we ask this to everybody that comes in for an interview for us, and it's super simple, but there are so much you can learn from it.
yeah.
First question in the interview. We started off and we, say welcome and all that stuff and so forth. But the first question is, tell me something amazing about yourself. And if you think about that question by itself, we get a multitude of different types of responses. Either somebody goes right into this fucking out of this world story, right? So it shows they have control of conversation. It shows they're confident, shows they know who they are, so forth and so on. We love those responses. But then sometimes you get the, well, should it be a work question or a personal question? It's like, they're a little bit indecisive, right? They don't know exactly how they go. And then if you give them the direction, then they go with it, they might go down this path that's got this great conversation. And then you get people that are like, oh, this has to be a work related thing. It's like, well, I worked on this project one time and I pulled some people together and it we worked it out. And like from that one simple question, you can learn so many things about a human. You can, one, are they confident? Two, are they fucking interesting or not? Like, do I want to hang out with this person at the bar, or like go shoot pool or something like that with, or go on a vacation with, or whatever.
Yeah.
Three, you can see whether they carry themselves right and how they can hold the conversation.
Yeah.
You can learn, how they work through situations. Did they get into a really challenging situation they work themselves out of? You can learn so much about, how you need to lead this person. Are they timid? Are they not timid? There's so many things you can uncover from just saying, tell me something amazing about yourself.
That's a good one, actually.
It's one of my favorite questions.
I like, so we have all salespeople. So I like with salespeople, I like to say, I like to challenge them almost. So I'll be like, hey, how are your sales in your current organization? They'll tell me. I'm like, hey, what's the number one objection you get, in your sales process? And they'll tell me, and I'll be like, okay, how do you overcome it? Overcome it with me right now.
Mm.
Right. And they'll be right now. Like, yeah, right now.
Right now, right here.
I just said, hey, I want to think about it. Right. And then they'll be like, oh, well, I want to see, do they stumble? Can they say it confidently? Can they jump to it? Right. Yeah. And then no matter what they say, I'll be like, that sucked. Hey, I want you to say it like this. Right. No matter what they say. I'm like, yeah, that sucked. Say it like this. Right. I want to see, do they take coaching?
Yeah.
And do they follow instructions?
And do they listen and repeat, or do I have to tell this person 3 or 4 times before they get it?
Yep. And
you can always go to Wolf of Wall Street style and just be like, here, sell me this pen.
Yeah, I feel like that's overused a little bit. Like, sell me this pen, But like having them go through experience, like, hey, dude, this is you're the one that gets this objection a lot. You told me, like, how do you overcome it? Tell me, Well, it depends. It depends on it. No, it doesn't. Tell it to me. Just spit it out, right? And I want to see when I say, hey, man, I don't like that. That sucks. I want to see, do they get all offended?
Yeah.
Are they, because it's like, dude, if you're going to get offended in an interview because I said the way you said something sucks, then you're not going to do well on the phones.
Yeah, because you're going to get rejected all the time.
You're going to get rejected a lot, bro. You're going to get your teeth kicked in. You're like, I can't do it. Like,
dude, I remember when I worked in finance. So we got leads all the time. We had to call people all day long, and we would sit there. We sometimes we go in the conference room, put boiler room on just to get a little bit of inspiration. Yeah. And I would always write down the date I would make the call. And like this one poor dude, his name was, I still remember the name, Edward Blankenship. This dude's call sheet was like every fucking inch going across the page. I called this dude and I'm like, this lead came to me. I'm like, this dude probably has been called by every freaking financial industry. And his voicemail said, this is Edward Blankenship. Please leave a blah, blah, blah. Dude, if that were me, I would change my fucking number.
Oh, yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
That's dude. So what we do when somebody hasn't answered in a while, I have this meme, and it's a pink background.
Okay.
With a dolphin. It's like, looks like it's a mid jump.
Yeah.
And it's the dolphin has a headset like this on, like one of those like call center headsets. It's like one earpiece, you know, it's got the little clip that holds on. And it's like holding on. You see the little microphone coming out in the dolphin. And in the background, there's a desk with like an old style computer, like CRT, like one of the old like Mac computers that's like got a huge fucking back screen. And it says, "Are you ignoring me on purpose?"
Come on, dude.
Swear to God, bro. You text that, and then you'll just get like laughs. You'll just be like, "Oh," and I'll be like, "Oh, you're alive! Shit! Thank God you're alive, man. I've been trying to get in contact with you. So, well, since you're alive, let's go ahead and have a conversation."
It's so funny you talk about CRT monitors. My first job at Ameriprise, I sat in a room. It was like a closet with 4 people in it, right? And we had these tiny little cubicles that were probably a little bit longer than the length of a CRT monitor and probably 2 times the width of it.
Oh, man.
And a buddy of mine started working, was right out of college, right? A buddy of mine started working at CDW. And I'm sitting there like I'm reaching over the keyboard to try to write notes down and do it on my lap as I'm making calls. And she was so annoying. And I remember calling my buddy. I was like, "Dude, you got to help me out. Like, I need a flat screen monitor. I've been seeing these things coming out." And this was like 2004, right? So flat screens were kind of new to the game, which is weird to think about, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
That is weird to think about, actually.
Right. So like I'm sitting, I'm like, "Dude, you got to help me out. I need a flat screen monitor. What can you give me something cheap?" Right. I'm not making a shit ton of money here. He goes, "Don't worry about it, dude. We're going to set you up. It's going to be Joens Enterprise. We're going to set you up with a tax account. We're going to sell it to you. It's like $100. I got this thing. I put it on my desk. I had all this desk real estate now." Dude, everybody in the office was coming to me to get the monitors because they didn't want to deal with the CRTs anymore.
That's so awesome.
That was classic.
Bro, Stefan, this has been a fucking good conversation, man. I've enjoyed thoroughly just having a leadership conversation. I haven't had this good of a leadership conversation in quite a while. So thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. We definitely got to do this again and just shoot more shit, you know?
I would love to.
Maybe we'll do one with you, me, and CW.
Oh, dude, we need hours.
That would universes would collide at that point.
That would be incredible. Let's do that.
Like the planets will align. We're going to tilt off of our axis. Like, so everyone will start walking backwards. Dogs will be cats. It'll be crazy. It's going to be nuts.
We should fucking do that, dude. I'm in.
That's actually a fucking good. Let's do a joint text as soon as we get off here.
Okay.
Set that shit up. So if anyone wants to follow you and just learn, like, because I mean, you know, you do all the businesses you do with the metalworking, the woodworking, all that, but you have very unique perspectives when it comes to leadership and business building and all that. And anyone wants to reach out to you or just connect with you, learn from you, what's the best place they can reach out to you at?
Yeah, LinkedIn is where I do most of the manufacturing work. Instagram is where I probably pull most of my, woodworking shop work like that, because the stuff we deal in manufacturing is like, it's $500,000 to $1 million. I'm not selling that like a phone on Instagram or some sexy beer commercial or anything like that. So it's just my first name, Stefan, my last name, Joens, Stefan Joens, either on Instagram or LinkedIn. You can find me either
I've been calling him Jones. I'm a piece of shit.
That's all right, dude. Get it all the time. Steve Jones is actually my alias.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. So thank you so much, Stefan, for coming on. This has been awesome. If you're watching this, you've been watching or listening on the podcast until now, then obviously you've got some fucking value. So do me a favor. Do Stefan and I a favor. Go share this content with someone else that can also get value from it. They can learn from it. They can grow. They can get a different perspective, or just be entertained by the fucking stories we're telling and be ready for the fucking massive pandemonium that's going to be when we get CW on.
Yeah, man.
Takes you 60 seconds to rate, review, subscribe, or share this content, but it means the world to Stefan and I. So this has been the Be the Difference podcast. I'm your host, Greg.